what's up? It is the Ace Micheals Show. I want to welcome you to the show. If you've never been here before, here's how it works. People come on this thing and they talk, say what's on their mind, speak their ideas, voice their opinions, commitments, suggestions, beliefs, ideas, ideologies, prophecies, all that stuff gets talked about on the show. If you ever want to be on the show, you can. All you need to do is send us a little message, say, hey man, I want to be on your show. And then we'll get you on the show. And I like to say, if you got something on your chest, come be a guest. Anyway, today my guest is a fabulous music artist, and I do mean fabulous. The emphasis is on fabulous. Mr. Ned Mills is on the Ace Micheals Show today. Ned Mills, welcome to the show, baby.
Thank you, man. How you doing,
How
man?
are you doing with your great-looking jacket?
Thanks for having me on.
First off, let's just talk about your ensemble, because the times that I've seen you on stage, you're a little bit more formally dressed. Now, this is more of what I would call like the hot, sexy look you got going. This is not so formal, but this is like kind of club. Is this your club look?
Country club casual, maybe?
I would go with that, but don't miss sexy, because this is definitely a sexy look.
Well, I should have done the tie, man. You kind of upstaged
No,
me
sir.
no.
This right here is popping just the way it is. You don't need to do nothing to this.
you
don't need a pocket square or nothing. Like you got this good. So guys, we're gonna do this the whole show. Just two guys complimenting each other's looks. You know what I'm saying?
How much are you? $5, right? Here you go. It's all good.
So so let's get into the heart of it. So you do music. You've been doing music for a long time. I interviewed you before. Some people may not know that. So tell us a backstory.
Yeah, I'm a piano picker.
Yes.
I was torn between piano and trumpet as a kid. I started when I was about 4 years old. My father was a frustrated musician, if you will. He didn't have a career in music, but he always wanted to. He was a great songwriter. And he was playing the piano one day, and I was like, Daddy, I want to play something. So he'd give me a couple of, here, play this ding, 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 that would go along with it. And I said, he's got a pretty good sense of rhythm and time. And so I kept right on, and I wrote my first song when I was 6 years old. And shortly after that, my parents put me in piano lessons. And then I might get the chronology a little off, but at near the same time, shortly after, my father had a trumpet that belonged to my grandfather. And he told me and my brother, if you guys learn how to play My Country 'Tis of Thee, I'll give you $1. You know? I don't want to play the trumpet. I wanted my $1. You know.
Right.
So I learned it quickly and that was it. And I've always been torn between the two instruments. And I went through the band program on the trumpet. And when I got in high school, I was debating. As far as college, I was trying to decide between music, math, or engineering. And I made the wrong decision and went to music. No,
and then here you are. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the way it is.
So Ned, listen, I just started learning to play the piano myself, and I was curious. For years, I thought it was hard. I thought playing the piano is a really hard instrument. I'll never learn to play it. But now, like I said, I've been learning to play, and something about thinking about it differently has helped me really jump in, and I can actually see those chords. Like when I look at the keyboard, I can see the chords in my head. Is it a mental thing? Is it just mental?
That's exactly what I was going to bring up, and you said it before I did. Do you play guitar? I don't recall if you do.
A little bit.
A guitar, see,
something.
I don't play much of guitar at all. Okay, I can play an E, so if I can learn 2 more chords, I'll be ready for Nashville, right? but on a guitar, you see a fret, you know, but on a piano, you have a menu of the theory and harmony in front of you. Versus like when you're playing the trumpet, you got 3 buttons, right? So a jazz trumpet player has to, the better players actually have some keyboard facility under their fingers, and they can, a lot of times they picture that theory or that keyboard in their head when they're playing their repertoire. So no, that is very true.
You know, what helped me was I saw a YouTube video, and they were showing the chords to how to play Dance Monkey. And what they did was they lit up the chords as the chords were coming, and then they played the finger parts with lit up patterns.
Right.
Is that what you're thinking when you're playing? Like, I mean, are you seeing? Is that what you're doing? You're going. You know what I'm saying? Like
that almost reminds me of that episode of Saturday Night Live where they asked Michael Jordan, you know, so when you take that ball and do you just throw it? Yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm at the point now where I don't even when I'm playing, I could be playing Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, and I'll be in the middle of it. Okay, let's see tomorrow. I got to go to the bank, and then I got to go cash a check.
Wow.
And blah, blah. And it's like, to me, music, particularly like reading music, is like learning a foreign language, and that if you think about it, our brain, there's so many things going on. Even as we're speaking right now, your body is telling you, how to regulate body temperature, your heart rate, all these stuff going on. When you're driving to the store, you don't go, okay, let's see, we're going to rotate steering wheel clockwise about 42 degrees. You just do it. You talk. And it's the same with music. At first, it can be very mechanical, and that's the difference between a beginner and a mature musician. It gets to a point where a seasoned musician will they don't have to think about the notes and what to play anymore. They can focus on, let's make this musical. Let's play soft here. Let's play loud. Let's have a little dance with the instrument. And I think that's the point that every musician should strive to be. And for some might take decades to get to that point. Some might do it in 10 years. Some might not ever. And I think that's why it's so different. Like how someone could go through medical school and become a doctor, but there's always your favorite doctor and then your lesser favorite doctor. It's the same with musicians. You have your favorite drummers, hold the time, do the beat, lay it down, and then you have some that, he's not my favorite because he's not being as mature. He's just showing off with everything he knows rather than letting the musicality
kind
be the
of
boss.
guide him. Yeah. Now, speaking of favorites, we're going to talk about this second, but the first part, I want to ask you about your personal favorite type of music to play, and then I want to talk about the Carpenters show.
Oh, okay, yeah, great.
Because you said something that was very interesting. The last time I interviewed you, I never heard anyone say anything like this, and it changed my life, actually. It made me think about it. You said that you had to learn to play like Richard Carpenter. Yeah. And I never thought about that before. I never thought that you would do, I'm a singer, so I guess if I sang a Tom Jones song, yeah, I do want to kind of do his same inflections, but I never really thought about how the musicians would have to learn to play like that.
They would have to, yeah. It's not just hitting the notes. It's becoming, for one thing, I'm not just playing, we've only just begun. I'm doing it as what Richard Carpenter would have done.
Right.
So I'm performing in character, which is a whole different, if you think about it, think of like some of the greatest impersonators, like Rich Little, Frank Gorshin, even a real talented gentleman today that I work with, Mr. Bob Anderson. When they do characters, not only like when Bob is doing Tony Bennett, he does the expressions, his face, he becomes Tony. Richard Nixon once told Rich Little, said, you do me better than I do me. And so becoming that character, that whole thing encapsulated into it is a challenge. I've done the role of Jerry Lee Lewis a couple of times, and there's a show called Killer Cash and King, and I have the wild hair and the whole, and it's not just beating the hell out of a piano till your fingers bleed, the showmanship on that, but it's also that whole, I have to go up on stage, strut up there, and I've been a rock and roll, and that whole thing about it, So, yeah, it's the whole package if you want to do it right.
Wow. So I probably got time for one more question, but I'm going to try to make it into two questions. But the first one, I do want to ask you personally, what is your favorite type of music to play? Just for your own personal, like, is it jazz? Is it gospel? Like something when you play for just your own fun and enjoyment, what do you default to?
That's a good question because I play so much publicly. People have asked me, what do I listen to the most when I'm at home? I'm like, silence. right. Talk radio on the way home. I'm not one of those musicians where I love jazz. I'm not married to jazz.
I would think not. That would be weird.
I love funk, but I'm not married to it. So my favorite song changes depending on what my mood is at that time. If I'm sitting in a quiet room with just me and a Steinway doing my stuff, I love pianistic ballads. I love the style of Bill Evans, George Shearing, or that my all-time favorite pianist was Oscar Peterson. and the Canadian pianist. And that old school stride and just that romantic type of stuff. I'm not the kind of guy, there are many pianists I know and a lot of them, friends of mine who have the chops that I wish that I had.
Really?
I can pull that out. I mean, there's stuff that I can pull it out a little bit, but I'm not one of those 10 million.
Wow.
I can do a little bit, but then, then my gas mileage goes. But to me, it's about the music. It's about the melody, and I think that's probably why I fell in love with the music of the Carpenters as well. You listen to that. And Richard Carpenter, way before that, I guess we're getting into that subject, but he was very much an accomplished jazz pianist. But he knew when to put it away. You always let the music and the melody be the boss.
Right on.
And that's why I like playing that style, like slow, smooth jazz standards, misty, that sort of thing,
So in my time, I've had one question. If you can think about this before you answer, what makes Ned Mills so successful at music? Like I consider you one of the best players I've ever heard, and especially in Las Vegas. That says a lot because there's so many musicians here.
Oh, thank you.
But you're a phenomenal musician. But what would you say is the thing that has made you successful? Is it your spirit? Is it Jesus? Is it luck? Is it you just happen to be in the right place at the right time?
Yeah.
What do you think has made you sustain all this success?
It's a combination of several things. One was I was blessed with the greatest parents anybody can have. My mom she could sing like Judy Garland, and my dad loved big band music and that. My mom it's always understood in our family, the raw music talent comes from my mom's side of the family. My grandmother played piano watching silent movies around 1920. And so how they say there's right brain and left brain thinking. I forget which is it, guys, where one is like the artistic side and one was the intellectual side. And my dad was always like a brainiac, and my mom was the heart and the music. For me, I think if you combine that with, I never gave myself a fallback, or like, for example, when I first went to college, I started as a trumpet major. Most of the people in class, I want to be a band director. I got something I could always fall back on. And I'm not putting down education because I think it's very important if you're passionate about teaching. And I was passionate about performing. I never had, except for, everyone has had little jobs in college and growing up. But I've dedication to do that and nothing else, no excuses. I came to Vegas. I did not know one human being when I walked into this town 20 years ago. And despite the COVID thing, I'm still very busy writing and producing and directing. And so, I think you have to be dedicated to it. You have to make the music first. Even more than the money, more than, in fact, if you make it about just the money, you're not going to be successful. You have to follow your heart on that and be true to yourself and be confident, I can do this, and just follow through and it'll happen.
I agree. Hey, man, I can't close the show with a stronger message than that. Ned Mills on the Ace Micheals Show today. We learned two things from Ned today. Number one, he's not married to certain music types, probably because it's illegal. And aside from that, you have to follow your dream, and I agree. Hey, Ned Mills, thank you so much for being on the show. I shake his hand very gingerly because he uses his hand. I don't know what he does. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, it's Ace Micheals Show. You know what I said at the end of the show, baby? Live the life you love the life you live. Thank you.